Welcome to another show. I'm Sid, and in today's video I'll be covering the Tritone shader patch in Spark AR Studio, which is a program used to create filters for Instagram and Facebook. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit like, leave a comment, let me know what you thought, and subscribe to stay notified when I upload new videos. I also have over 50 tutorials in a playlist for you to browse through if you're looking for more Spark related content. Basically, this is the Tritone shader patch effect, and I've simulated some touch, so there are a couple different effects that I've added onto it, different interactions and things. So basically I'm going to walk you through how to implement the patch itself and just give you some demonstrations of examples of things that you can do to spice it up a little bit. With that being said, let's pause this and I'll open a new project so we can get started. This is going to be quite similar to the 2D, the duotone one that I made, but I've tried to add a little bit more to give you some content. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a rectangle nested inside a canvas, and we're going to extend the size to fit the height and the width. Then we're going to add a material layer for that, which we're going to add this camera texture to. So we're going to come up here to camera, and then under segmentation and texture extraction, usually we'd use both, but in this case we're just using the camera texture because we only have the one layer. So we're going to take our material and we're going to add the camera texture here under the shader properties diffuse texture. So now we have that, and if I switch back to the FaceTime camera, which I probably should have done by now, then you'll see that we're cut out from the background and everything's looking pretty good. It's all done on one layer. So the next thing after that is we're going to add asset down here, import from AR library, and then under patch assets and shaders, you want to select the Tritone color shader patch. Here's a little photo showing you how to set it up yourself with some more descriptions and explanations of how it works, but I'm just going to show you, so we'll import that. There it is. Now what you want to do is open up your patch editor. You've got to view, show hide patch editor, and that creates this little box. So now we're going to take this Tritone shader patch and we're going to drag it inside of our patch editor. It will create this little orange patch. We're also going to do the same with the camera texture that we've already created. We're going to drag that in here and we're going to create this camera texture patch. So now we're going to take the RGBA output from our camera texture and we'll connect that up to the Tritone shader's texture input. Okay? Now we need something to connect that up to, so we're going to take our material that we've made, the one with the camera texture here, and we're going to make that a diffuse texture as a patch. So now we connect those up, and as you can see already, the effect is pretty immediate. We now have this three-colored effect with yellow, orange, and red. You can see it's highlights, midtones, and shadows, so there's three different types of colors there. What I'm going to do is, obviously you can play around with the colors yourself, but what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to make the highlight color white, which is mostly the background. And I'm going to make the shadow color quite dark. So I'm going to set that to be somewhere around here, like a dark blue, maybe a little bit darker. I don't know, maybe that one. That works quite well. So now what I've done is I've created like, in the highlights it's very bright, and in the shadows it's very dark. So now as long as our mid-tone isn't too far in either direction, it should complement those two colors quite well. So as you can see, what you end up with is like, you know, you can play around with it obviously. Like I quite like filters like this that give the illusion that they're hand drawn or something like that, but there's all kinds of different styles you can come up with. You can play around with it. What will I select for now? I suppose if I stick with something maybe like that, or darker, a little bit darker. Yeah, that's quite nice. Pretty neutral. It's two different shades of blue with the white. It's a nice little contrast. You've got three colors going on there. Obviously you can also adjust the highlight and the shadow thresholds. So for example, this is by default set at 0.7. If I reduce it down to 0, then you see it's just completely white. If I go all the way up to 1, it's bleeding. The blue is now bleeding into the background, which was white before. So that's our highlight color. So the highlight, if we set that to 0.5, you see it starts to pull it in a little bit. There was our original 0.7, pull that down to maybe 0.3. You'll see most of that blue from the midtones is gone now. And it's only just starting to come back as you increase that number. So let's say we'll leave that at 0.5 for the time being. We'll decrease that to 0. You see it completely washes it out. It takes away these shadow colors, these darker tones. So now if we go to 1, you see it's almost entirely dark. You can barely see my eyes, like they're sunken in. The beard and the mouth, all those, like where there would be shadows, they're made larger and stronger. So if I reduce this back down to say 0.5, even that's quite a lot, 0.1. But yeah, we had 0.3 here was the default and 0.7. So we'll go back to that for the time being. And yeah, we're going to add a couple more things now. So next up, I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to just drag it down here. So you Control C, Control V to copy and paste. It's already connected up to our camera texture, so now we just need a new output. So if I rename this one here blue, and I'll name the material blue to go along with it, and then I want to duplicate that canvas that we've already got up here, I'll rename that one green, for example, and we'll add a different material for it. We'll create a new material, also called green. Don't forget to add your camera texture under texture so you can segment yourself out from the background, and then add that texture, diffuse texture as a patch, and connect it up here. As you can see right now, they're both identical, but we can adjust the colors on those and also the visibility. So right now there's no way of switching between them, even if you change the colors. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take a counter. We're going to come in here, we're going to add a counter. So we've got a counter here, and we're going to add a equals exactly. So we have two of those, we'll copy that twice. We have our equals exactly, and we're going to connect up to these two here. So our blue and green canvases, we're going to make those visible as patches inside our patch editor, and then we're going to connect those up here. So we've got our blue and our green. Okay, so nothing's happened still. What we're going to do next is we're going to adjust these numbers slightly. So this one's set at 0, we want to add this, we want to make this one 1, and then because we only have 2 options at the moment, we're going to make our maximum count 2. Now I want to connect up to this, I want to connect to screen tap so we have some type of user interaction, and on screen tap it's going to increase the count from 0 to 2, and it will just keep cycling through. So now if I switch to simulate touch, and before we do that, if I change this color of this midtone here to something closer to maybe like this, then you'll see when I hit tap to change that that particular color has changed because it's alternating now between those 2 visible layers, which each one of those 2 layers has its own tritone shader connected to it. So that's pretty cool. You can alternate between these. You can, again, like I said, play with the colors, the foreground, background. This is just demonstration with the colors, but you can connect them all up, make them visible as layers. You can alternate between them. Like there's a lot going on here you can play around with. So let's say we add one more, because I had a nice pink one. Oh, hold on, my bad. Because I had a nice pink one in my original demo, so I want to try and get the pink one going. We'll go with that, and we can duplicate this, rename it pink, add a new material, which will also be pink. Don't forget your camera texture for separating yourself out from the background. We'll make that visible here as a diffuse texture, and we'll connect it up. So now I want to make this visible here, and I'm going to duplicate our equals exactly so we can add that in. We've already got 0 and 1, so I want to make this equal to 2, and then I'll increase our maximum count to 3. So now if we tap through, you'll see we've got blue, green, and this pink color, which is kind of nice. You can obviously go through each one individually and adjust the shading and the color thresholds and things. Or you could move all of this out of the way, try and get it a little bit more organized. Hold on, bear with me while I do that. Okay, so we've got that. Now we've got our camera texture here, and these 3. So we'll leave that up there for a second. We've got our camera texture here with our 3 tritone shaders, and we've got these little threshold values which we can adjust manually, but I'm looking to do that a little bit more efficiently. So the next thing I'm going to add is a loop animation. So we've got that, and then I'm going to connect from progress to a transition, which I'm going to make, in this case, it's set by default at vector 3. You can come down here and you can click this and you can change it to anything you want. So in this case, you can change it to a color, and you can have it connected up to your highlight, midtone, or shadow. You can have it alternate between, for example, black and white. You can have it fade in and out, or you can connect it to these numbers. And so you can make this, we'll make this one a number so that we can connect it up to our, let's say, highlight threshold. And we'll do that for all 3 of them here so that they're kind of equal when we tap on them. Oh, and there it is. You can already see the animation working because we're on this pink layer now. So it's obviously going from 0 to 1, which is quite high. Let's set that from, say, I don't know, 0.2 to 0.7. And we'll increase the duration to 7.5 seconds and mirror it so that it's the entire length of a full story on Instagram. And as you can see now, like the mid-tone colors are coming in and then fading back out again, because the highlight is being increased and decreased. So there's more white being pushed into the scene, which is taking away from the color that was there, and then as it's being withdrawn, you see the cycle is reversing, you get more of the color pushed in, which is quite nice. I quite like this effect. I think it's pretty interesting stuff. You obviously have to arrange your setup a little bit, because things can kind of get more and more complicated the more stuff you add in, the more patches you start to get involved in. But yeah, the last thing I want to add now is some custom instructions. So I'm going to come up here to device, and under custom instructions, patch, I'm going to hit create, instructions on opening. Obviously they open and appear right in the middle of everything else that you're working on, so you're going to have to manually drag those out, tidy them up a little bit as well, and then we can zoom in and see what we're working with. So we've got our runtime here, which is a patch that starts as soon as the, apologies for that. So we have our runtime here, which is a patch that starts as soon as the filter is opened on a device. Then we have this less than, which is a loop, which is a boolean that checks whether a number is less than this set number. So in this case it's 5 seconds. And so we have our runtime connected to a less than. So as long as the count here is less than 5 seconds, these instructions will appear on the screen. We don't have any instructions right now, so we're going to add those. Come up here to properties, edit properties, capabilities. Under instructions, if you don't have instructions, then you just hit this plus button and you'll get a big full list of options, and you can type in instructions and it will appear, and then you can add that to this capabilities menu. So we're going to click that drop down menu, custom instructions, and then add select instructions to use. We're going to use tap to change for this, although as I'm sure you just saw, there are a lot of options. And then we're going to copy this little token here, hit done, and we'll paste it in here. So now if I hit refresh and I hit play, then you'll see we now have these little instructions on the bottom, tap to change. The count's going up. As soon as this count hits 5 seconds, those instructions disappear, and that's no longer enabled. It's pretty simple. We still have our tap to change actually enabled, so we've given the user the ability to understand how to interact with the filter. Yeah, this is pretty much the entire video. I'm not sure if there's anything else I can go over. There are obviously some other interactions you can do, like you can change this transition, like I said, to be a color, which will disconnect it from I'll show you with this. Hold on, I'll just copy and paste. So we got this. If I switch it over to be a color, this one's now a number. If I switch this one over to be a color and then connect it up to, for example, this mid-tone on the pink, we'll come over to that layer. You'll see that now it's somewhere between these two colors, and it's kind of shading in and out of those two. So if I set it between green and red, what you'll see is, even without hitting tap to change now, this is slowly alternating between green and hopefully it goes to red. Yeah, a little bit towards the red as it starts to fade out. The only reason it's still fading out is because of this, the highlight threshold. So the colors coming in as green and then fading out as red. So you're not seeing it as strongly as red, but if I switch them around, you'll see it the other way as well. Start with the red, switch over to the green. You can see as it fades in, it will fade in red and then fade out and turn slightly more green. Let me organize this so you can see everything I've worked on so far. Put that down there. Okay, so that is pretty much the entire effect. I'm going to delete this color one here because I don't like it, and we'll go back to just regular old pink, which I did enjoy a little bit more, to be honest. Yeah. So there it is. That is the Tritone shader patch. I showed you the basics. I showed you how to set it up with some tap to change features, also some visibility and like loop animation, so you can adjust the values of the highlight threshold, the shadow threshold. You can even adjust the color values. The whole thing is just about creating a cool looking effect. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you found some part of it useful, even though it was quite long-winded and rambling. If you did enjoy this or any of the videos on my channel, don't forget to hit like, leave a comment letting me know what you thought, and subscribe to stay notified when I upload in the future. With that being said, I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to click this one more time so I get a nice color on the outro, and then I'm going to say peace. Oh, it was blue. I thought it was pink. Can we get the pink quick? Yay, pink. Peace.